Let me tell you a story of comic book retail, a story that is a true story and a live story, meaning that it just happened right here in Challengers Comics and Conversation. 2 people walked in, and for the sake of this story, I'm going to mention gender, but gender is a construct and isn't important so much as it may help you paint a picture in your mind as you hear it. A young girl and an older male. This young girl could have been a daughter, could have been a sister, could have been a niece. I don't know. She's excitedly looking around. And when I say young girl, I mean teens, like early teens, like real early teens. 12, 13, let's say. Comes up to the counter and asks if we have any Diary of a Wimpy Kid. And I say, sure, we've got them in that room, straight back on the red shelves. So she goes to look, and the male comes up, asks, did you see someone? Like, yeah, they went into the other room. Goes in the other room. Doesn't want to be here. You can tell this wasn't his first choice. Comes back out, just waiting by the door. She comes out and says, I can't find them. And I said, oh, let me show you. So I get up, and as we're walking in, he keeps saying, no, you don't want anything in that room. It's all $50. Everything in there is $50, and you can't afford that. You don't want anything there. So I walk in and go right to the Diary of a Wimpy Kid shelf, show her what we have. And she's like, oh, it was right in front of me. So I leave her to it, come back out. Oh, and before that I said, and don't worry, they're not $50. They're only $15. At that point, the male goes outside and just stands by the front door. She finds the book that she wants, comes out, sees he's not there, sees he's outside, and is trying to get his attention by holding up the book in front of the door. He finally comes back in, and I don't hear what they're saying, but basically he tells her she can't get it. Fine. So he goes back outside. She dejectedly goes back into Sidekicks. She comes out. She looks at me and says, I put it back. And I said, oh, hey, thanks very much. And don't worry, it'll be here for you whenever you want to. Whenever, if you want to get it some other time, it'll be here. And she leaves. And then I immediately go into the other room because this has been a day full of people putting things back for us, but poorly, wrong place, not quite on the shelf it's supposed to be, out of order, that kind of thing. And I'm going to guess you've already figured out where this story is going. Book's not there. Can't find it. Now, I don't want to assume that she stole it, so I start looking. I look everywhere. I bring Gina in. Gina starts looking. We're looking on every possible shelf, anywhere it could have been misplaced. Can't find it. Just gone. Book's just gone. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Volume 17. And I thought, man, even like the sweetest, nicest young person is going to steal. And that sucks. It just makes me not want to be in this business. I mean, I get it. Shoplifting and theft is always part of it, but why is that the go-to? Why is it a thing you want to do? And yeah, okay, maybe that's what, $10 out of my pocket? But still, it's not like I would have just given her $10. I would not have. Still, it sucks, and I hate it, and I'm very disappointed that it happened, and it just goes to show you that anyone can do it. Thanks, world. Now here's a podcast.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. I still approved, fan and artist and creator too. What? This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers,
the lowest of all entertainment.
A comics industry business podcast with
the scummiest of the scum, the lowest of the low, the stinkiest of the stinky. Patrick Brower. Brower the Sour, they call him.
And
W. Dal Bush. It's so bad. It's such a hideous name, Dal.
I actually had a very specific way to start this episode.
Okay.
However, the mail changed that. So I'm going to have you open this, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Dal is opening an insurance package that talks about next year. I just opened mine earlier. And if I may, even though I just had you open it, I'm taking it away from you immediately. Because we're self-employed.
Correct.
And we pay for our own insurance.
Yes.
I mean, the store pays for it, but we have to acquire it on our own.
Yeah, we're in the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
Healthcare.gov plans.
According to the estimate,
Uh-huh.
for next year, if I keep my same plan,
Uh-huh.
my monthly premium goes up by $80 a month.
Woo.
So let's see, yours goes up $50 a month.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a
Now,
lot.
to be fair, 2024 subsidy details aren't available yet. This is an estimate on your monthly payment based off of your 2023 subsidy. It's not like they're going to go down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I always find it really weird that I'm 10 years older than you are.
Yes.
And seem to injure myself
You make use of your
regularly
health plan on an almost daily basis.
yet my premium is $50 a month less than yours.
Wow.
Yours should be like dirt cheap
I would have thought, but I guess not.
because you never do anything with it. You never use. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe because you never use it, they don't get money out of you, and they get a lot of money out of me
Well, no, but that's the thing. Like, I don't...
until I meet my deductible. Is what I'm
Right,
saying.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for indulging.
Sure.
That's just a little peek into healthcare behind the scenes at a small business, a comic shop, as it were. But now, Dal, I'd like to cast your thoughts back to, wow, it's 4 years ago now.
Okay.
4 years ago now,
2019.
what were we doing?
We were, October of 2019, we were working almost daily on Challengers Blue.
Challengers Blue, which was located at, was it 750 North Franklin?
I think you're right.
Suite 3?
I can't remember what
No,
street number.
302? It was something like that.
Do you want me to look it up?
No,
Like 310 maybe?
no,
310 to Yuma?
it was,
The poor man's shatter machine?
right. the Ass Boys shatter machine. When we were there, we were next to, above us was office space that was empty. And next to us, so there was a little vestibule that had the stairway that went upstairs to the two different upper office spaces. But next to us was the Little Black Dress, LBD, a women's clothing store.
Yes.
I'd say upscale, but it's River North, so everything's upscale from.
I guess, a
but
boutique.
but it wasn't like super bougie.
Right.
It was just stuff. And we were friendly with them. I talked a lot with Andy, who worked there. We called her Mandy Andy because when she first introduced herself, neither you nor I could remember what she said.
Yeah, if it was Mandy or Andy.
So
It was both.
She was Mandy Andy. But we were horribly looted during riots in May of 2020.
I think you're right.
And then shortly after we were horribly looted, they were broken into and looted as well. And 3 different view security footage of theirs actually wound up on news sites. Like they had that footage and it went up. We had all of our footage, but we never, we did release it to the police, but it never made it. As far as I know, I never looked. But anyway, so we were hit, they were hit. Now, this next story comes from my good friend Gronk, longtime Challenger friend Tom Gronkowski, sent us a news article this week about 2 stores that were violently burglarized.
They called it a smash and grab, but I think that undersold
The smash-
what smashed?
Yeah. So Tuesday morning at like 5:50 a.m., cars were driven headfirst and then backed into both the Little Black Dress and the sneaker boutique that inhabits the spot that Challengers Blue used to be a part of.
Yes.
They drove a car completely through the brick wall and the windows to get into Little Black Dress, and the sneaker boutique has roll-down metal guards
Yeah.
that cover all the windows, and I assume the door from the inside.
Yeah, there's a little vestibule that's between the two storefronts.
Yeah.
So, like, you go into this vestibule and turn right to go to Little Black Dress and left to go to the sneaker boutique.
Yeah.
So
Or
there's a little shared
upstairs.
space, or upstairs to go to the upstairs.
But
part.
there's a door for each of those. You have to go through a door to get upstairs. A
Right,
door
but there's
to,
one door for the two spots, not like a door for Little Black Dress and a door for the sneaker shop. There's just the one door, and then you have to pick the
which
direction
door you
you're
go
going.
through.
Yeah.
So I assume, I've never been inside, but I assume they have metal guards that drop
You'd
down.
think they'd have to.
And our window cleaner, Maurice, we got him when we had blue, and then he started doing red as well. And he still does the windows there. And he said that they have an armed security guard all the time when they're open, which is customary for sneaker shops.
Yeah, high-end streetwear places like that. Absolutely.
For the people that want to pay...
Reseller prices.
Yeah, exactly.
Not retail.
Reseller.
They only pay reseller prices.
So they drove they stole a car from Wicker Park or Logan Square, one of those two, I forget which one, and then drove it through the front of the building into Little Black Dress. And then they wound up...
So let's double back for a second. So they start off in like Logan Square.
Yeah.
And then they drive this car to River North
Yeah.
and drive it through the front of a store.
Yes.
Okay.
The driver...
For people not in Chicago, those neighborhoods are not close to each other.
Yeah, I mean, at that time of day, it's like a 10, 12-minute drive.
Sure, but still, it's a 10,
Yeah.
12-minute drive.
Sure.
It's not like they stole one from like around the corner and then...
Yeah, honestly,
drove it.
like, why wouldn't you steal one from around the corner? I don't know. But this is why we're not good thieves.
No, that's the only reason.
And then they backed another car into the sneaker shop, which I think driving a car that you know you're going to abandon that you just stole into a store is more reckless abandon. But backing a car into a storefront that has added security measures, like I don't know how you get the velocity to go through all of that when it's in reverse. And also, that car was then driven out of there.
Wow.
Like, that car drove away, then they loaded up a pickup truck full of all their ill-gotten gains. And it's amazing to me that it's those exact two units again. So I reached out, and I can't imagine the owners of that building, who are terrible people.
Oh my God, the
But,
worst lady. Just the
Like,
worst.
I wonder what if they think that they have a target or something on their, like, what kind of businesses they think they need to rent to prevent this.
No idea.
Just yoga studios or dry cleaners. I don't know.
They got the Starbucks on the corner. I don't think anyone's driving a car into that.
Right? So I reached out to to Andy, to ask, like, hey, is everything okay? You know, do you need any help? Can we help rebuild or anything like that? And it turns out that she doesn't work there anymore. She left after Challengers closed. And I made the joke that I hope she didn't leave because of us. And she said, no, she stayed because of us. She stayed as long as she did.
Aw.
Like, oh, that was very nice. But anyway, she of course had reached out to the owners.
Sure.
And it turns out that the people drove a car completely into their store and stole nothing.
Yeah, they just wanted the sneaker shop. So, Little Black Dress was just collateral damage.
But it didn't work. They couldn't get through, so they had to back the car through anyway.
Amazing.
Like, they wasted that stolen car. I don't know. Like, they didn't recover the second car, so I don't know if it was stolen or not as well. But
Let's assume they probably both were.
all of that to get into the sneaker shop, and then reading I looked up as many news articles as I could find.
Sure.
It turns out that sneaker shop has been robbed 3 times.
Wow.
I say robbed, could be, I assume burglarized.
Burgled.
Rob means held up, somebody was there. Burglarized means it was at night or empty.
Burglarized feels like the more reasonable one because, again, if there's like an armed guard there, most of these places are just like the people that are hitting them have no stomach for direct confrontations. They just want to hit places that are closed.
Yeah.
And then drive away with. Again, you do this at like 5 a.m. There's no one there. There's probably no one around.
It was interesting to me that there were witnesses to the whole crime. Like, who's up at in River North at 5:50?
Bet some people walk their dogs.
Or people got to get to work. That's a pretty major blue line stop right there. Chicago blue line stop.
Not a blue line stop.
No, I'm sorry, green line, brown line.
Brown line mostly.
Yeah, not blue line. No, you're right. It's a stop.
It is
a stop.
It's a CTA stop for sure. I mean, it's directly above where that store is where the platform is.
I took some fun photos looking straight down on that neon sign that now resides in red.
Yeah.
Which is the wrong color.
Oh no.
But man, I thought it was kind of not ironic, but interesting to note that as that sneaker store is getting built out, they put in the big window guards.
Sure.
And I know that they did it for the business that they're in, but I can't help but wonder if the circumstances behind us leaving was not at least addressed to an extent.
I don't think so, because a lot of places got looted during that weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Mary Laurie was closing off like all of the loop
Yeah.
in the aftermath was because of all of the looting. And like there was stuff that we were seeing
Looping, maybe.
maybe. Where I don't know if it was before or after that, but I remember there being a huge spate of smash and grab stuff going on in the loop, where basically like flash mobs more or less would just show up at like a Walgreens and just 20 people just grab armloads of stuff and run out the door.
Yeah. For real.
So yeah, I would imagine the sneaker shop having giant metal gates is just a factor of their business. I doubt they went into this thinking like, oh no, we're going to have like our products in the windows and have everyone be able to walk by after we're closed and see what we've got. Like, oh God, no. I was reading a thing about a shop that had been hit a bunch of times. A comic shop recently was robbed of, I'm going to see if I can bring it up.
Dignity.
No, they don't have those to begin with. They're comic shops. My CV2 had a listing of it.
As you're looking up, I will point out that this has been behavior that has been escalating in the comics industry for stores that have CGC books, high-end books, obviously books that have been cased by clientele, and there's break-ins in the middle of the night where people know exactly where to go and how to grab. And it's, I think, a lot easier to grab a whole bunch of high-value board books than it is to fill up your car with boxes of tennis shoes.
I guess. I mean, they're already boxed, right? Easy to take.
Yeah, but there's also, spatial. How many comic books would fit in the same space as a shoebox?
Well, I guess the other thing is just that if you're hitting a place like a sneaker shop, you know how to move that stuff. You know what I mean?
Or use a collector.
Maybe.
No, I don't think collectors
I think anyone who's going to drive a car through plans on flipping those as quickly as possible. And comics, I mean, unless you know exactly what you're getting, in some stores that get hit, they're like somebody knew exactly what they were taking. Like they got the high value books. They got these specific things. Like they didn't take everything in a case. They took these things.
Yeah, some of these examples have had people that took like up to $50,000 worth of books in under a minute.
Yeah, and some places that have gotten hit, they have camera footage, and they're here. Like eventually, they're able to put it together and go, "This was the guy," and he came in, and he basically cased the joint. He went around, he knew where everything was, so that when they hit, he just came back and he hit those same spots. Anyway, Tales to Astonish, TAILS to Astonish, comic shop in West Seattle, Washington.
Sounds like a pet store name.
Was burglarized twice in 6 weeks. The burglars went for valuable back issues, I'm quoting from ICV2 here, including some signed by Stan Lee. This is a quote from the owner. "Half of our business that we did was back issue sales, and 3/4 of our back issue value was probably on these walls." In the aftermath of the second robbery, he plans to increase security and stop keeping comics worth more than $100 in the store.
Yeah, then how do you sell them? By appointment?
Online, maybe. Or maybe just list them on the website. If the odds of someone just coming and going like, "Oh, I'll take that $6,000 book," probably pretty slim. So maybe you do something where you leave a catalog, you have them listed on your website. Someone says, "Oh, I want that," and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have that brought in on a certain day. In the same way that any place you go to that's like a fast food place, they'll always have like the safe is on a time lock. So you can't just come in and say, "Open the safe," because they put the code in, and it's like, great, this is going to open in 3 hours.
I remember when we were on the convention circuit working elsewhere that everybody left all of their long boxes on the show floor overnight. Right. You have to. You can't
set up every day.
Yeah, 200 boxes or whatever you're bringing in.
Yeah, that's insane.
200 is excessive, but stores do it. But you would always take your high-value books back to the hotel every night.
There'd be like a magazine box full of like the highest value books.
Yeah.
Not everything off the wall, because some of that stuff is just like, it's a, gold key comic or something. Like, yes, it's valuable, but it's not really valuable. Who cares? But like your first 20 ASMs and your, early Claremont X-Men and stuff like that.
Do you remember what the most valuable single issue you ever sold was?
I have no idea. I worked a lot of shows, but I never cared about back issues or I never cared about like vintage books.
Sure. I mean,
so I probably sold some, nothing that was more than a couple $100 probably.
One time I sold a $1,000 book.
Wow.
It was a Conan #1.
Yeah, like I would.
And I love the irony of the fact that George bought Conan 1 through 6.
Mm-hmm. When they came out?
No, at a show from the same dealer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I would, when I would do out-of-town shows for GC, like it'd be me and Mike Waller, James Nurse, or whoever.
I took this from you.
That's fine. They're for the taking. The only stuff you would bring would be back issues and board books. It's a van's worth of stuff, whatever. When I stopped doing those, because they had other people, they had a crew to do them, so they didn't need to take a random, Downers Grove manager or whatever for the weekend. I would just do Wizard World shows, and then I would just be in the graphic novel section.
Sure.
Again, they had specific people that were working the Jamie books, and I didn't have to do them anymore. So, yeah, a very limited amount of my show days were spent on, like, the high-end stuff. And again, like, most of the stuff that we would sell when we were doing, like, the Hillside shows or any of the out-of-town stuff, it would just be stuff in the back issue boxes.
What I hated about selling the high-end stuff or being behind that table, like in the early days, when it would be me and the owner at San Diego.
Yeah.
And if he goes off somewhere, you're there by yourself.
Yep.
And it's just so much. Can I see that one? Take it off the board. You watch them, look at it. You can't really help anybody else because somebody's holding
You have to be right there.
Right.
The whole time.
And it's like, can I look at this one? Can I look at this one? And there's a certain point where you just say, are you seriously interested in buying any of these? Sometimes you need to get on a chair because they're high up.
I'll take your word for it. I never needed to.
You never had to set up the way we set up in those shows where it was very high.
I did, yeah.
Oh, the San Diego ones? You like that?
Well, not the San Diego ones, but it's a lot of the same gear. We had the same stuff that we brought to Novi or whatever.
We put it on risers in San Diego, so we'd be seen.
We put it on folding tables on top of folding tables.
So we'd be seen from a distance, because you know how hard it is to stand out in that Silver Age corner that you're in San Diego.
Wondering who is this in a Stormtrooper helmet, who I'm going to find out later was the third build star of that UPN show or whatever.
Sure.
I'm going way back with the UPN.
They need
reference.
to protect their anonymity.
Uh-huh.
I saw, obviously we've all seen the photos of Charlie Cox's Bluey.
Yeah.
But there was a woman who was in an Elektra cosplay who recognized him and got a picture, and she's like, I never thought it would happen like this, but I was so very excited to meet Daredevil while in my Elektra outfit.
I read a story earlier today that Keanu Reeves was in California for something.
Yeah.
And basically called a local comic shop and said, I'm coming in 15 minutes to sign Berserker books.
Whoa.
So there's a picture of him, and apparently he's done it a couple times when he's in town for something. And I like that it's just, I'm doing this. I'm not going to tell you ahead of time, so there's no way you can, make a big deal about it. There will be no crowd. There will be no anything. It is just, I will be there in 15 minutes.
Well, that's what we call in the industry, Dal, a stock signing.
Stock signing.
And that happens occasionally where we're reached out from a publisher saying, hey, a creative is going to be in town. They want to swing by and just sign your stock.
Right. Because we've had it happen sometimes where someone is literally just in the area buying comics or something.
Sure.
And they're like, do you want me to sign anything while I'm here? And we don't usually press on it because it's like,
Right.
it's your time, whatever. But if you're willing to do it, sure.
Yeah.
Because we don't upcharge for it. They just go to a customer, and we get to tell a little story of like, hey, that duo power bomb you're buying, Dan Johnson did a little sketch on that. Look at that.
Daniel Warren Johnson to you. But sometimes it's an official thing where there's a handler and they want to set up a table, but they're not doing a signing.
Right.
Like in between a library event, they'll hit some stores in the area and sign. So we don't ever tell people about it. So we'll be like, yeah, John Patrick Green just came by to sign a whole table full of investigators.
Signed
Now
and stamped.
they knew, they let us know over a month in advance he was coming, so we could order. We ordered up
Right.
to have a ton of books signed.
Right, because
for
we
the
didn't want him
holidays.
to come in and just do like
The three I had
the normal 2 or 3 that we would normally stock for individual volumes of
yeah.
investigators. We got a whole bunch so that for a while people can come in and maybe over the holidays or whatever.
Right. Someone wants to back their car through the front window sidekicks and steal some investigators
Oh God,
that sell for $12 anyway.
I get nervous now.
It's funny to me that I was talking to a retail colleague, but not a comic retail colleague, and they have a young child who's really into Dogman books, and they were complaining about how expensive Dogman books are, and all I thought was, no, they're dirt cheap.
Oh
they're
my
$12.
Every time I see like the Marvel graphic novels that they make of like 12 issues of Ms. Marvel for $13, I'm
Yeah.
like, why can't you do this all the time?
Yeah.
This is such a deal.
But the number of times people will bring up a stack of like Dogman investigators, and then bring it up and like, it's under $40, and then a stack of Marvel comics. I'm like, this is $130.
Yeah.
Like what? Ha? What?
Yeah.
There are some single issue DC comics that almost cost as much as a Dogman, but we don't advertise those because we're asked not to. But we're happy to have
The stock signings,
Yeah.
you mean? Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring it back to what we were talking
Okay,
about.
because I mean we do advertise like the comics and stuff that we sell for $9.99.
Do we?
$12.99 sometimes.
Oh.
Emails.
Okay. I mean, it's only advertising if people read them.
They do not. We've been lucky enough that publishers and creatives have reached out to us on occasion to say, hey, I want to sign some books. And most of the time they actually come in, which is pretty great.
Yeah. We did just have Annie Wu come in at our request to sign a giant stack of Two Graves book plates that we did with her.
Yeah.
And those are available now. They're on the website right now, challengerscomics.com.
Really great now speech.
Search Two Graves and every
Maybe I'll make a little
volume
thing for the front page.
of Two
website.
Graves because it worked so well for Local Man. Actually, Local Man did well. We had to reorder it a couple times since then.
Yeah, but I think most of it was just off the shelf.
Okay, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting a bunch more in soon. I also ordered a bunch more Two Graves, so we should have hopefully that for a little while.
Nice. It helps now that we have stickers on them. Mm-hmm. But while Annie Wu was in town, and Annie Wu has been in Chicago for I think 5 years now, and we always say like, please come by. Finally did.
Very nice of her.
But also signed all the individual issues of Two Graves that we have.
Oh, very cool.
And did a Kate Bishop sketch on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like we were very excited to have
Very neat.
Annie Wu. And this was the first time she'd seen her signature
On your arm.
tattooed on my arm, but it's splitting. It's like the black.
She'd seen
splits.
the piece above it, right?
Right.
Okay.
We showed her that, and then the next year I'm like, hey, can you sign this card so I can get your signature tattooed underneath it? But she'd not seen my arm with that on it.
I see.
Yeah. And I think she handled it very well to walk up and be like, hi, we've never met before, but I tattooed your art on my arm. And I'll be honest, I usually get permission before I do it, but there's like 3 artists I did not. However, most of them have been cool with it after the fact.
Okay.
The only person I never got permission from and never talked to about it was James Jean.
Okay. Well, also the creator of Yotsuba.
No, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wish you had told me that story before. I'd love to hear it.
And Jack Kirby and John Romita, we're fine. Those are fine. Yeah. And then along the lines of people signing stuff, we got a little care package from Dave Roman this week.
Old pal Dave Roman.
With bookmarks and stickers for his new property. And I took photos of them, but haven't posted them yet because I wanted to give a little space between the Annie Wu photos.
Previously, Dave Robin had done Astronaut Academy, a few volumes of that for First Second.
Yep.
And we met Dave when he and Raina and
Jersey
Drazad and John Patrick Green were doing a 4-person tour for their graphic novels before Raina was a gigantic, huge deal.
But we actually met.
And before John Patrick Green was a huge deal.
Dave and Raina one time before that.
I guess.
As well.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyway, Dave sent us a bunch of bookmarks will be given out.
Very cool.
And I have used a little note to Pat and Dow, a little Unicorn Boy sketch at the bottom there.
Neat.
But more importantly, this is notes for later.
I figured.
That's right. That is right. So we, as Dow pointed out, we never upsell signed books like single issue comics or autograph graphic novels.
Yeah, if we have stock and someone comes in and signs it, we're not charging extra for that signature.
Yeah. I have some other things written down today.
Ooh,
Dal.
other things.
Yeah. One is a small complaint that I had this week about the way Marvel puts barcodes on their covers.
Yes.
It's just the dumbest thing. Now,
there is no rhyme or reason to it.
When an artist is creating a cover, they know that there's a logo.
Yep.
And they know that there's going to be a barcode. But picture, dear listener, in your mind, a comic book cover. It is a vertical rectangle. Now, the barcode, as you know, is also a rectangle. And it could go, traditionally, it goes on the bottom in a corner. It could be the left corner, it could be the right corner, but it could be vertical or it could be horizontal. Mm-hmm. Now, artists never know exactly. They could suggest where they want to put it. When barcodes first started getting put on comics back in the day, it was always a vertical rectangle in the lower left corner.
Yeah,
so much so
that little box that wasn't even all the way in the corner. It was like a little off the edge, hovering a little bit.
And if it was a direct market comic, it had a Spider-Man head in it.
It did, yeah.
So even when they were doing layouts of covers, they knew like that. Don't put anything important in that spot. That's where the barcode's going to go.
Right.
Now barcodes go anywhere. There was a point where Marvel was putting the barcode in the upper left. Like there would be like the little Marvel symbol and a box that came down with the creator information, the issue number, and the barcode right there. Mm-hmm. I want to say that was around the start of the Hickman X-Men that they were doing it maybe that way. Maybe not exactly, but that's... Anyway, the barcode can go anywhere. Not in the dead center of the cover, but
usually not.
Usually in the corner, left or right corner, vertical or horizontal. Fine. Almost all Image books have them on the back. Uh-huh. A lot of independent books have them on the back. Some DC variant covers have it on the back.
Some Marvel books have them on the back if it's like a wraparound cover.
Yeah. And it does slow us down. We're ringing people up. Fine. That's not what we're talking about. The thing that I don't understand is if you have a barcode that is in the lower left-hand corner in a vertical rectangle, why you would change the direction of the code within the rectangle for no reason.
Yeah, like either the barcode is starting at the bottom and moving to the top, or sometimes it's starting at the top and moving to the bottom, which means you have to scan it in a 180 degrees different ways.
Now,
because when you're scanning with a barcode, because of the way that comic book barcodes have two parts, they have a string of digits at the front, and that's like the publisher, the title, and then they have a string of digits separate, a 5-digit string that includes like the issue number, the cover, the printing. So if you're scanning with a barcode, if you flip that, it doesn't scan it right because it's getting the extension before it's getting the book, and it doesn't make any sense to it. So you have to have it oriented correctly. You have to be scanning it in the same direction that the barcode is going in. So when it flips around 180 degrees on an axis, suddenly you're not scanning it correctly, and you have to turn the book to correct that. So yeah, when Marvel does it 2 different ways in 1 week, it can get really frustrating when you get to that one book in the pile.
I just want to know what the reasoning is behind that. Why would you do it? Why would you not have a standardized way of doing it?
That's a really good question for any production department who might be listening to this.
Yeah, and it's not a huge deal, but as Dal said, sometimes you can scan a barcode upside down depending on where you place the laser directly. Like if you get it in the dead center, it may read it. But if you're a swiper, if you go up or down, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. And I usually am a swiper because the way the barcode is laid out with an extension is that it's level on the bottom but shorter on the top.
Yeah.
So if you go from the bottom to the top of the barcode, when you're
all
swinging,
the bars at once.
You all hit it. But if you swing from the top to the bottom, you might only get the first part, which is not a valid barcode read for your point of sale system, which means you're going to have to try it again.
And I'm just a straight shooter where I try to get it right in the middle each time. But there's plenty of times where this is an interesting conversation, I think. The laser goes right across but doesn't register anything.
Weird.
And the swipe is more accurate, but I think when the dead on hits, it's faster. But there's
when
still,
it hits though,
yeah,
and that's the problem. Like the swipe is a little bit more reliable because it may take an extra fraction of a second, but you're getting it every time, as opposed to trying to get a bullseye. The 1 out of 5 times you don't costs you extra time.
Now this is just for stores like us that have a handheld scanning gun. You know, the people that have a mounted system.
I think it would be the same thing because they're dealing with the same problem where you have to, if you're holding the books and you're just going through a line, if they're all in the same place or facing the same direction, you're great.
No, I'm talking about specifically being a swiper or I'm not talking, but like if it's a steady beam, you're always swiping because you're moving the code into the. Yeah. It's like how many times do you try to get the? And I realize that most food products don't have an extended barcode; they just have the little block. That how many times do you have to move your half gallon of milk in front of the sensor before it hits?
Yeah.
That is a constant beam. It's still there's no. It's interesting that for as long as barcodes and barcode readers have been a thing, the technology hasn't advanced all that much.
No. Well, it has. I mean, that's QR codes, right?
But how many things have a QR code to get rung up?
More and more things. Not like on your average groceries, but
yeah,
there is a push to move to. I think they call those 2D barcodes because you're getting an entire thing rather than like a 1D where it's just a plane of numbers or lines representing numbers. So there are like 2D barcode scanners that are just hitting QR codes and stuff. I don't know what products would predominantly or exclusively have QR codes, but I assume that they exist because Shopify wants to sell us a 2D barcode scanner.
Yeah, and can you imagine if one publisher switches but the others don't? What a giant pain in the ass that's going to be for the hardware, because does your 2D barcode scanner, can it do both?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
I would not want to have to look at a book, figure out the code, and then grab the right tool.
You could be like a modern-day two-gun kid, though. You'd have the 2 barcode scanners.
Yeah, but we also don't have enough inputs on the device to have yet another barcode scanner connected. Okay.
Pew, pew, pew.
Science and comics, it's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
My next note says draft orders, and I can't help but wonder if that's more of a thing for you, Dale.
Oh, okay.
Or is it too general?
I don't know. Do you want me just to talk about what draft orders are?
I mean, there's a reason.
I don't know what the note
there's
means.
a reason. Oh, right. There's a reason that the note was written down.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because, specifically. Okay, I get it. It's so random to have an email pop up right now from Penguin Random House saying, "Hey, we got your order." Neither of us placed an order. That's just the way that their system works.
Yeah, something shipping out.
All right. Side note. I can't remember who said it, but I was reading some retailer stuff today on the internet, and a retailer was talking to a friend of theirs who's a bookseller, not a comic book seller, who echoes our sentiments that Penguin Random House is the worst part of their whole job. And that's who they get the majority of their product from.
They're a very big bookseller.
And
a very big distributor.
The way they do invoicing and billing, and it's so counterintuitive, and it is such a hassle. And the sheer number of emails you get per placed order and shipped order.
That's a lot.
I understand what they're doing. I just think there's a much better way to do it.
There's got to be a more concise way of relaying a lot of the information that they want to relay to us. Like, there has to be, because the number of emails that are just the same thing but kind of from two different departments within Penguin Random House is nuts. I don't think they're necessary. And they come one after the other. And they're saying the same thing.
The same thing, just in different formats.
Yeah, very, very weird.
And one of the things that they've started doing recently, which drives me up a wall because I am the bookkeeping guy here, is they've stopped putting dollar amounts in their invoices. Everything is either listed as back-ordered or out of stock.
Not yet published.
And just, we used to get an email like of, hey, here's the stuff coming out next week. Mm-hmm. Here's what it's going to cost. Now that's all zeroed out, and I have to go to their website and track it down.
Yeah, I mean, when I do FOCs, there is a total. So if you want me to start copying that and saying, here's a number.
No, I have a system now.
Okay.
But it's a thing that I had a system, and then
it stopped working.
Not only did it stop working, talking to a credit rep, they didn't know that they didn't do it anymore.
Shocking.
And they had asked me, can you please send me examples of what you're talking about? Mm-hmm. And then I did, and I never heard back from them. Which I don't expect to. Like, I'm not saying...
Do you think when they brought that up, they were renditioned by somebody in Penguin Random House who's like, no one can know?
Maybe. I never expect there to be a solution. I just want to be able to say, hey, this is annoying.
Yeah.
Like the way that they do 3 different ways of cover information, depending if it's Marvel, depending if it's IDW, depending if it's Dark Horse. Yeah. Just figure out one, and I hope that's part of the data summit that's being worked on.
It is.
But I mean, yeah, just I don't care how you do it. Just everybody do it the same. I'll adapt to the way you do it.
So, I mean, from the outside, it seems like one of the problems that the data group was having is basically whose responsibility is that? A, to determine a standard, and B, to enforce a standard. Like, no one wants to take that work on. Like, basically, distributors are like, well, that's the publisher's job. And the publishers are like, well, that's the distributor's job. And frequently, both are like, well, that's the retailer's job. So, again, a lot of the conferencing is to figure out who does this. Like, and some of that is making sure that the people who are basically abdicating responsibility understand that they're stakeholders in this too.
Sure. You and I, right now.
Yes.
How do you prefer covers to be listed? Here's what I'm going to give you a cover.
Yes.
Okay, let's say it is X-Men, number 4. Mm-hmm. The cover is by Pepe Larraz.
Okay.
I'm writing all this down.
Okay. I hope everyone who's listening to this is writing it down too.
Right.
Show your work.
And it is, it's a foil cover.
Uh-huh.
And it is for Man-Thing's 45th anniversary.
So it's a variant cover then. Okay.
Oh yes, I also yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
let me give it to you fully.
No, I got it.
Just so the listener can catch up. I mean, so it's just right there.
They all wrote it down already.
Sure. X-Men number 4, Pepe Larraz foil variant Man-Thing 45th anniversary.
So my preference for how titles should be listed when they're in solicitations or in data that were being sent and uploaded into our point of sale system and database. Title, issue number, cover A, cover B, cover C, cover D. Not variant, whatever. Cover A, cover B, cover C, cover D. Even if there's only one cover, cover A. Standardize it. Then the cover artist, I will accept just last name. That's fine too. But if you want to do first name and last name, go ahead. Then cover content if necessary. I don't think it's usually necessary unless the same artist is doing multiple covers for one issue. Like if Pepe Larraz is doing a Man-Thing 45th anniversary cover and a Werewolf by Night 42nd anniversary variant, then sure, fine. You need to differentiate those two. But if you do not if the artist is only doing one cover, you don't need to say which cover they're doing. Then...
You mean aside from cover A?
Wait, what do you mean?
If an artist is only doing one cover...
No, I mean, you don't need to say what the content of the cover is.
Okay, I just wanted you to clear that.
Yes.
And then I know that.
And then any modifier to the cover design that's necessary. If you want to put cardstock, if you want to put foil, if you want to put wraparound, if you want to put die cut, if you want to put embossed, if you want to put fifth color ink, blah, 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 that stuff can all go all the way at the end.
Okay.
That's how I would prefer stuff be done. Because that is in order of the necessity of the information. The title is important. The number is less important. The cover designation, A, B, C, D, is less important. And then the cover artist is less important. And then the modifiers after that. The Moon Knight Night's End, that it comes in a bag, whatever. That stuff can all go at the end.
So you and I have never really sat down and discussed this before.
No.
But I am in 100% agreement with you. Because that's exactly the way...
We run a business for
I
almost 16
wrote
years,
it down
Patrick.
in my notes as the way I want it.
We are simpatico when it comes to what we think is the most blisteringly obvious way to do things in the industry, which is why we're always so angry at the rest of the industry for not thinking it's as obvious as we are.
The word variant should not be used in covers. It's unnecessary.
Cover A, cover B, cover C, cover D.
Every cover, if there's beyond one, is a variant.
Yeah.
If there's two covers, they're both variants.
The one thing we did not talk about in regards to this information, and I guess where it would fit would be in the Man-Thing 45th anniversary, 5th color ink, blah, blah, blah area, is if it's a ratio variant, that's where you put it. 25 copy, whatever.
Yeah. And I think,
X-Men number 4, cover C, Brian Hitch, 25 copy.
I prefer 1:25.
Sure.
Because it's shorter.
Yeah.
And it tells you exactly what the ratio is.
That's fine too.
I don't care about the cardstock part, the type of the cover.
I don't think it's as necessary, but I think if you're
understand why you're using it, but if you do, don't say glow in the dark, just say glow. Just say foil. Just say wrap. Just say card.
That
space is a premium.
It is, you're right. And I mean, God knows there's been any number of Marvel Star Wars variants where it's just like, this is a short story, not a title.
Yeah.
It is way, way, way too long.
And also, one of the things that we didn't discuss here, no parentheses.
Yeah.
Do not put parentheses around anything. It's unnecessary and it takes up space.
We can get really granular with a lot of very specific edicts, like no punctuation, no parentheses, no dashes, no colons, etc.
Exactly.
That's
no punctuation. No punctuation except the number sign, which honestly isn't even integral. Because Marvel doesn't use it.
Well, Marvel doesn't. It drives me crazy. Everybody else does, which is why Marvel should.
But if you want to use full names, it's longer when it's people like Evan Dockshainer, like putting in nicknames.
P. Craig Russell.
Joshua Swaby or Swaby, whatever. Or
Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yeah, right. There's so many long names. I get it. Like, when I'm editing things down, I will leave in Jim Lee versus Jay Lee.
Right. Yeah, if you think that there's a common enough name that you need to give it a first name or an initial or something so that people understand what Lee or Smith or whatever.
I don't even separate Frank Cho and Michael Cho.
Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, I think that's why maybe I would prefer like first and last names when you're doing, if there was a standardized thing, because there can be so many sort of similar names where God knows with certain books, you might have one cover by Jim Lee and one cover by Jay Lee. So there needs to be some way of differentiating the two of those in a title.
And I know we've talked about this before, but it's just frustrating. A lot of my time on Thursdays is spent editing down invoices, and because things go on our website, I want them to look the same.
Sure, same
so
here.
I have to convert everything into the same thing. Half of the companies use all caps, half of them don't. So I have to all cap everything. Then I have to go in and edit everything down. And DC is the worst as far as extraneous information, but Marvel is the worst at giving us the necessary information.
Yeah, there's too much stuff that we get from Penguin Random House when it comes to Marvel details in the titles and in the CSV files, where it doesn't include that it's a ratio variant, that it doesn't include specific things about the book, but then it'll have little parentheses for like a parenthetical for fall of X-Men, and that's Fall of X. We don't need that necessarily because it's not
everything is Fall of X currently.
Yeah,
and it's also very annoying that the Star Wars storyline designation currently is DD for Dark Droids, not Daredevil.
No,
they already have a DD.
Unless that's a huge twist coming at the end.
Maybe. I'm taking some notes for next episode because we're saving draft order discussion for a week because
it's so good, it's so powerful.
And I put a note that says why, which will help me remember. Because I have a list of PDFs that I've read that I want to talk about and I want to go through, and I think that information is more integral to...
More vital to our business?
Than us bitching about titles. I have read a bunch of PDFs of upcoming titles, and I would like to mention them all because I enjoyed all of them.
Wow. That is rare.
Right? Well, I mean, I don't like to necessarily badmouth books, so if I don't like a book, I won't necessarily bring it up.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to say, hey, Dal, what did you read this week? But I will look. Did you read anything off this list?
Not yet. No, I'm Somna. I didn't read the second one. I meant to, and I saw the link, and I'm like, yes, and then I just didn't have time today to do it. I wasn't going to read the third one at all.
Okay.
The fourth one, I have it. I just haven't done anything with it yet, and I don't know that I saw the fifth one in anything.
Okay, well, I don't know which ones are which because you have the list, and I didn't.
You wrote it.
Yeah, but I'm not looking at it.
You wrote it.
I did write it. Okay. So you're not going to read the third one?
No.
Okay. So, Masterpiece. Masterpiece by Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev.
The team that did Scarlet, that did Daredevil, that did... Well, I'm...
Okay.
Creator-owned stuff, because this is another creator-owned title, much like Scarlet was.
I liked it a lot. And this is what I wish most Bendis books were. It's very Bendis-y. The premise is... a girl genius who's in high school who was an orphan raised by her aunt or cousin or something like that. It's mentioned but only in parentheses or quotes, so it doesn't seem like it's legit. Who basically her parents robbed the richest man in the world of a ton of money and then disappeared, and it's taken him 15 years to find out that she existed. So he gets a hold of her and says, basically, you owe me for the sins of your parents, and you have to go rob somebody else. Mm-hmm. It's not like a straight "you owe me that kind of money,"
right?
But I mean, that's
you work
that's
for
the
me now, girl.
There's a lot of it's very precocious. Youngster, you can tell that Brian Bendis's children are getting older because he's able to use them for...
He's writing teenagers now?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I actually liked it a lot. It was a lot of fun, and it wasn't a typical Bendis first issue where you're like, you're not giving me the concept. Like, you get the concept.
Oh, they put the concept in the solicit. Reading the solicit was like... Boy, this is a lot of information that I feel like I would have wanted to read in a story.
Yes, but how many times do I personally complain about the big twist of the solicit being the last page of a book? This isn't like that. This is you learn as you go. I liked it way more than I thought I was going to.
Okay.
I thought the same that you did when it was first announced, but I read the PDF and I'm like, okay, I can work with this.
Okay.
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Let's talk about Somna, since you read that one as well.
I really liked it.
Somna is filthy.
It's ish.
It's very dirty.
It is I like how much it's just about how things like the Salem witch trials is all about men's fear of women's sexuality. and women having control of that sexuality and kind of what that means in puritanical times and how that reflects our modern times. So yeah, I mean, it's just about female ownership of female sexuality. So like just watching two women creators tell that story in their own unique ways while still working collaboratively was very cool. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous book.
It's a gorgeous book. The art styles work so well together where you have...
It's so pretty.
Each of them does a specific part of the story, and it works perfectly for it.
How different Tula Lotte's artwork is from Becky Cloonan's artwork is so good.
But they're both equally as good for what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's two parts of one story.
And they're both dirty.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, Tula Lotte is considerably dirty.
There's been filthier books for sure. So I think it might maybe be overstating it, but it's still like, this is a sexy book. I
didn't say it was the dirtiest book ever made.
Filthy is a different connotation to me. It's a sexy book.
Do you know Bonnie Raitt?
Is she in porn?
I would exchange your sexy with erotic.
Sure.
Because I think that, like...
Yeah, I mean, it's erotica. Absolutely.
Yeah. This is not an R-rated book. This is an X-rated book.
Yeah.
This is an N-17 book.
Yeah.
NC-17.
Ish.
Sorry, I'm gesturing.
Patrick's being a child about this.
I guess it's a difference between, PG-13 and...
Yeah, no, I thought Somno was great. I really enjoyed reading the PDF, and I'm honestly looking forward to seeing...
I bet you did, you perv.
The hard copy, if you will. When that comes in, Patrick, stop giggling like a child. Be an adult about this. You're a retailer. You've won an award, for God's sake.
Why did you put your hand up over your mouth and kind of tilt your head when you said it?
That is scandalous, and
just like the book.
I'm reporting you to the Witchfinders. Yeah, excited to see the print edition to see how it all looks together, because it's obviously you're reading on a computer screen or an iPad. I can't remember I think iPad I read it on, and it doesn't really work very well for like the double page
in
spreads.
The bathroom.
The double page.
This is perfect.
Patrick, grow up.
This is perfect for fans of the Saxon Song Witchfinder General and the Blackadder Season 1 episode Witch Smeller Persuivant.
Uh-huh.
Perfectly accustomed to
Absolutely.
those. That's right.
Yeah, Somno was real good.
Okay, next up is Batman Offworld, which is the first Jason Aaron written Batman book.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
I thought he did like a short story some years ago or something. I thought it was...
I said book. You said story.
I see. Okay.
It's a Batman story. It's a young Batman. It's the first time he's been off the planet.
Like a little boy.
It is he left the planet for a reason. He's doing something for a reason. We don't know that reason yet. They're giving us a little bit of clues, but it is very much the determined Batman. He writes a good Batman without Batman saying all that much.
Good.
He also has his own take on Marvin, the depressed robot from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, okay.
But he's not depressed.
Classic Batman character, Marvin, the depressed robot.
They are battle robots.
Okay.
For different... Yeah.
They're called battle
but the robot is a very entertaining character.
Nice.
There's a Tamarin in it.
Okay. Yeah, I think she was on one of the variant covers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good Batman story. It is yet another Batman miniseries coming out, which may be a thing that people are like, I'm tired of Batman.
I don't think that is even a possibility. Every time in the past I've thought, God, there's too many Batman miniseries and they're cannibalizing their audience, and there's no way that people have a bottomless appetite for Batman books. I look at the rest of DC sales and go, oh my God, if they weren't releasing so many Batman series, they would be screwed.
So this is Doug Mahnke and art, and it reminds me a lot of the style of... I mean, it's Doug Mahnke, you know what to expect, but it's very sci-fi, so it's like Liam Sharp, Green Lantern type of stuff.
That's great.
It is a good hook on a Batman premise.
Okay.
And if you're a Batman fan, you will very much enjoy this book.
I am a Batman fan.
Whoa, that's crazy. Next up is Lotus Land. Lotus Land is written by Darcy Van Polgeest, who you may remember from the very first International Sales Battle.
Or because it's spooky season, you might remember his pseudonym, Darcy Van Poltergeist.
That's true. Little Bird was the book that we successfully sold more copies of than All-Star Comics in Melbourne. But Little Bird was the first Ian Bertram, Darcy Van Polge's collaboration. There will be a sequel called Precious Metals. This is Darcy Van Polge's doing another creator-owned book. He's done some license work since then.
Yeah, I think he did some of the Critical Role stuff from Dark Horse.
This is a futuristic noir story. It is a detective story with a grizzled old, thought he was out of the game protagonist, gets pulled back in for one more case. It's a good premise. It's a good take on this trope. And after talking to Darcy after I read it, he told me that, like, the things that I was saying, like, oh, I liked how this starts. And he's like, oh, that gets way more intense as it goes.
Cool.
So this is he's worried that people won't jump onto it right away.
That's a worry.
To him, it's more of a slow build, but I thought it was a good enough concept.
I hope so. Don't slow build anybody. Don't do that anymore. Listen to last week's podcast. See how that goes.
There've been books that I liked that came out that had like good sci-fi premises, like Mosley, if you will, from
Boom.
Yeah, but I fell off them right away.
Yep. You and everybody else. And
this is a miniseries that I'm excited for the next one, and I think that it'll be worth it. But I think it needs a push.
Okay, a lot of books do.
True, but I mean, it's the covers are stark, and I like some of the designs on them.
Not Kyle Starks, though, right?
No.
Okay.
This is it's a Boom book, right?
That's not right for everybody. Lotus Land?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
I think it is. Anyway, I read Lotus Land, and I liked it, and we're down to Animal Pound, which is by Tom King and Peter Gross.
Yeah. Fun to hear Peter Gross's name again in 2023.
Right. While this is often referred to as a updating of Animal Farm, how do I explain this? You read all the press release stuff, right?
I did.
Do you remember the year specifically that
Nope.
Was like 1947? So when Animal Farm was written, was it George Orwell?
Yeah.
Okay. Animal Farm was basically a reaction to not the political climate, the social climate of the time.
Okay.
Where people were worried about the advent of, man, I'm going to get this wrong. That's why I was hoping you would jump in.
So, I think in every high school in America, you read one of two George Orwell books at a certain point. You either read 1984 or you read Animal Farm.
Yeah.
We read 1984.
We read The Good Earth. We read Flowers for Algernon.
Yeah. I mean, that was separate classes. Yeah.
We read A Separate Piece. Yeah, anyway. So, you're so much better, Allegory.
And this is the problem. I didn't read Animal Farm.
No, but you read the press release where it specifically said in bold letters, this is...
Yeah, but I didn't really retain it. As a quick segue, a little sidebar thing. When it comes to mean solicits, I try not to retain too much of it if I'm going to read the book. Do you know what I mean?
Sorry. I'm not talking about solicits. I'm talking about the essay that Tom King wrote about writing the book.
Yeah, I don't know where I would have read that. Was that like in previews?
It was in the email they sent out about it.
Oh, yeah, I didn't read that.
Okay.
I don't think I even saw that email.
It's also in the book, but you didn't read the book. So.
No, yeah.
Yeah. So this is not... Like, Universal Monsters Dracula is James Tynion and Martin Simmons reinterpreting Universal's the Bela Lugosi Dracula movie. Animal Pound is Tom King taking the premise of animals as the protagonists, changing the setting, but having it being a reflection of the time now.
Sure.
So it is the teachings of a wise old dog to a young cat as the dog is about to be destroyed, and the lessons he's trying to pass down to the next generations of animals about the perceived place of an animal in society. Now, there's the literal translation of that, which is, they do a very good distinction between the difference between cats and dogs. but that's not what the book is about.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, with anything Tom King does, there's what's happening in the text and then there's what the subtext is and what he's trying to talk about.
But it is 100% his way of reconciling what was the message of Animal Farm into Animal Pound.
Sure.
And I think it's a disservice if we were to explain that, because A, it's not coming from him, it's coming from us.
Yeah.
And B, it's a thing you need to figure out.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, hey, Tom King is doing a creator-owned book at Boom, and you should probably check it out if you like Tom King stuff, and let that be the pitch, rather than, let me explain to you what the book is about,
well,
thematically and allegorically, before you even read it.
It's
not the best way to pitch a book.
It's touted
ever.
as Tom King's most important book.
I'm sure
and
it is.
Sometimes when you say a book is important, it loses some of the fun of the story.
I understand that Boom is in a position of having a Tom King book and absolutely wants to promote that in a way that makes it sound like the definitive work of his career and also one of the most essential books for a store to stock in the 21st century. I get that. That doesn't mean I gotta play along. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, and I'm not asking you to.
Sure.
I'm just saying that normally subtext is missed on me, but picked up on by you. But we can't have that discussion because you didn't read it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I'll try and find that and I'll try and read it this weekend. I mean, it's like you. I got a lot of stuff I got to read, and I'm very bad at it right this second.
Unlike you,
there's a lot going on.
I am making my published comics reading suffer.
Yes.
So true. I'm ahead of you on PDFs. I'm way behind on you on actual comics that I'm...
Patrick can't even talk to me about Captain Marvel.
Oh, I wasn't going to read it.
No?
No.
Not even number one?
No.
Okay.
It's not Kelly Thompson anymore.
That's true, but it's a different creator.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you tell me it's worth it, I'll read it.
I would...
Although I told you that the 2-part Doom story in the last 2 issues of Valuing Venom was spectacular, and you refused.
Patrick, I'm not reading a Venom comic. I'm a grown man. Captain Marvel, however. I like Captain Marvel number one. I thought it was an interesting take on the character. I don't know that I see it as a series that's going to run 50 issues, like Kelly Thompson's
Neither does
version
Marvel.
did. Well, like I was going to say, like Kelly Thompson's version did, but I think there's enough juice in it for like a couple graphic novels. We'll see what they do with it.
See, I invited you, one, because you're a delight and a friend, but I invited you because I thought, well, he owns a comic book store. Surely horror is like part of his DNA, but it's not. Like this stuff is not part of your world.
Well, horror comics are. There's some really great horror comics being put out right now, but I'm not a huge horror movie person. I'm not a huge haunted house person, clearly, because I've never been to one. Can't say that anymore. I was at one right now.
The end of last episode, at the very, very end, patrons got it right away at the very end, but if you listen to the normal version, it was post-credits. I talked about a team-up I was doing with a different podcast, which is Car Con Carne, where I went to the 13th floor with James Van Alsdale. Well, James is so quick
What is the 13th floor for people that might not know?
It's the floor on most hotels and office buildings that doesn't exist.
Okay.
It's a haunted house.
Oh, okay.
It's a haunted warehouse.
Oh, yeah.
It's a haunted floor.
It's not like it's and this is a legit question because I don't know anything. It's not like in like a skyscraper or something. It's like it's just
No, it's in a warehouse.
It's just in a warehouse.
Yeah.
It's a single floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some steps and stuff, but it's not a big thing.
Okay.
It's a seasonal attraction.
Like a corn maze, but like
Yeah.
okay.
But with more scary things.
Okay.
And I'd never been to a haunted house before. So James was taking me for Car Con Carne, and he had the audio podcast and video podcast of just us recording in the car afterwards. We couldn't take any footage in it. He had that up the same time as last week's episode of Contest Challengers went up. So it's already out there. So I linked to it a bunch of times on social media this week, so did he. But I was touting it as a crossover, and it was.
Yeah.
But my point was it was already up. I'll see if I can't steal some, like a line or two from it to drop into this just for fun. Also, we'll probably promote this more later when it happens, but Molly Jane Challenger and I did a very brief voiceover work for something that is also Halloween themed that, ironically, the book that it is for doesn't come out until second first or second week in November.
For us, anyway.
Yeah.
Not sure about the market at large. Kind of unclear there.
When you say for us, you mean for Lunar.
Yes.
Not Challenger
for stores
specifically.
that carry this publisher and this title through Lunar.
Yeah.
Diamond question mark.
Yeah.
Rumor on the streets is that there is a slasher on the loose in Las Brisas.
Spotting a slasher on Halloween when everyone is dressed up in costumes will be almost impossible.
Where do you think we start?
So we'll promote that when it comes, but I'll also steal a line or two to drop that in as a fun little tease. And then next week, we're going to talk about why we have to make draft orders and delete draft orders. Delete. That's we rarely have to be continueds or,
cliffhangers.
Sneak previews or
a cliffhanger where we're going to explain draft orders. How will people live with the anticipation for an entire week?
Beats me. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.